All right. In today's video, we're going to go over Francis Ngannou and all the recent news with him on Ariel Helwani. I'm going to tell you why Francis Ngannou might never fight for the PFL again and what his next fight will be. We'll also get a little bit into the Dana White thing as well. A lot to talk about here. So look, earlier this week, I believe on Thursday, we had Francis Ngannou go on Ariel Helwani for an interview where we got a lot of interesting takeaways. Ariel Helwani, of course, being the top MMA journalist for many consecutive years, spanning well over a decade now. He's been covering the UFC and is known to be a passionate fan of the UFC, but he's not always had the best relationship with Dana White and the UFC brass. And because of that, his relationship to the brand is a bit bitter. So going into this, you already know Ariel is going to give Francis many chances to uplift himself from all the drama surrounding him with Dana's comments, as well as giving him a chance to reaffirm that the PFL deal is still alive and they're working for another fight here soon. But none of that really happens here. Quite the opposite, actually. I mean, it really was just a PR disaster for Ngannou in the PFL. This interview just reconfirmed what we all knew about Ngannou and that he's doing these interviews, he's making these decisions, business decisions, all as Francis Ngannou the fighter, not Francis Ngannou the PFL star, the PFL brand ambassador, basically Francis Ngannou the free agent. Bro's out here talking like he has no deal with the PFL. Ariel starts by asking Francis about the state of his relationship with the PFL and if they have any fight lined up. And Francis answers everything but Helwani and what he actually asked him. And that's what was so frustrating watching this interview is he wouldn't actually answer these questions. And you can see Helwani simplify his questions and make them more straightforward as the interview went on because he just wasn't getting really any acceptable answers from him. He just wasn't answering the question. He was doing everything but. And Francis, someone who is not locked in with the promotion, framed his 2026 as being like wide open, like anything can happen. And the next day, actually, PFL CEO John Martin went on MMA Junkie the next day for an interview and said they're, quote, working on something very special, unquote, for Ngannou. This to me just seemed like a PR move, though. I don't believe they have anything they can offer Ngannou that would interest him more than just another boxing match. Now, the winner of Nemkov versus Ferreira was thrown at him by Helwani, and Francis, he didn't bite. He really didn't entertain that idea one bit. All he really said was he just wants someone who can give him a fight. Now, if he's framing it like someone who is actually a challenge to him, then no, they don't have that. But if he's saying just any fight, like he's just been sitting around waiting for an offer, well, then he's full of shit because there's no chance the PFL hasn't already made Francis an offer. I think he's probably just holding out to the last possible moment to put more pressure on the PFL to give him more than they can afford. Either way, it doesn't seem like he's trying all that hard, just from the outside looking in, to make a fight happen in the PFL, even though he says he needs to fight. That's what he says in this interview. He needs to fight because he's been out 13 or so months, whatever the number is. He needs to fight. And right now, before I started this interview, video about this interview, Nemkov actually just subbed Renan Ferreira in the first round and called out Ngannou. Ngannou actually responds with, on Twitter or X, I've been ready for a long time, shrug emoji. and see you in soon. Dot dot dot. Now that's interesting, but would I be surprised if he never happens to fight Nemkov? No, not really. I'm just being totally honest here. No, I would not. Because look, he also said he wants John Jones in MMA and Deontay Wilder in boxing, further along in this interview. And it's just because it got to the point where you could see Ariel's frustration with Ngannou's answers. But John Jones, that's a pipe dream at this point. And Deontay is a possibility, but it ain't happening in the PFL either. There's no way. From this interview, it seems like he would only actually fight with the PFL just to get out of the contract in time to go for another fight with John Jones at the White House. But it doesn't make any sense. That would never happen. We know Dana wants nothing to do with the both of you. You won't fight in the PFL, but you also turn down a fight with Jake Paul. And we all think the same thing here. Why would you turn down such an easy paycheck? It seems like a no-brainer to me, but apparently he cares about fighting real fighters, not someone like Jake Paul, even though he would get paid millions just to treat him like a punching bag. Does Ngannou even have a team to advise him and prep him for interviews like this? I mean, big interviews. This is Ariel Helwani, the biggest MMA platform there is besides the UFC. He said in the interview that an offer involving numbers was never made to him, but later on went back on that and said that they did make him an offer, the Jake Paul fight. I mean, did bro just wake up and hop straight into an interview? What happened here? I'm confused. I'm about as confused as Ngannou, really. So, no, I really don't think he's fighting for the PFL again. They just gave him way too much freedom to just go do what he wants, plain and simple. Plain and simple. His next fight has to be in boxing. He hasn't gave us anything, not one thing, to believe that he will fight in the PFL again. If he wants Deontay, then that's probably what he'll get. I don't see why not at this point. But moving on to the next thing, because we got to get into this Dana White thing. And I really wish this didn't happen. In this interview, Francis he was unable to utter the word no. Did you put your hands on Dana White? That's a yes or no question. Yes or no. But before he gets asked this, Ariel is explaining the situation, setting the question up. And Ngannou knows it's coming. He knows where Ariel is going with this. And Ngannou is sitting there looking off to the side, drinking his water and shit, looking all guilty already. And Ariel asks him, is all this that Dana is saying, is it true? And Ngannou's response is, well, you would have to ask Dana. What the fuck do you mean, ask Dana? He's the reason I'm asking you. I'm not going to go ask him. We already know what he said. And Ariel rephrases the whole question. And it's just tough to watch at this point, really. I had to pause. Like, it was hard to watch this because he's just making up these ridiculous answers on the spot. Like, you can see it. You can just see it, man. And I felt bad for him because no, he's not really a bad guy like Dana said. I still don't believe that. I mean, is he difficult to do business with? Well, yeah. I felt like that went without saying when talking about Francis. I mean, it's not like he was gonna re-sign with the UFC once he figured out he can just go do boxing. But some of the demands he was making in those negotiations, he knew he was asking for too much. He knew they weren't going to meet him there. He was never going to resign. He just made those ridiculous requests to make himself this freedom fighter on the way out the door, make himself this mythical man who tried to his best to create more opportunities, the guy who took the bullet for everybody else. So no, the real bad guys, they're more like John Jones, wearing an orange jumpsuit in the prime of his career. Those are the bad guys. So I don't believe that about Francis. When you got guys like John on the fucking, well, I mean, he's not on the roster anymore, but anyways, while talking about Dana, Ariel finally just asked Francis point blank, did you ever put your hands on him? And Ngannou says, who? Dana White? This is when I knew Ngannou was guilty as fuck. He asked him, did you commit the crime? And he goes, who, me? Yeah, he's fucking guilty. Slap the cuffs on him, boys. Take him away. Yes, Dana White. Who else are we fucking talking about? And from that point on, I mean, he just made bullshit up about wanting to be at peace and he wants to be done with this. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you do. You look awful right now in this interview. So, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty more to come with this whole Francis Dana White saga. It's been going on for years. It's been going on for years. I mean, this stems all the way back to before he made his last fight in the UFC before Cyril gone, where I mean negotiations were getting tough, and they just couldn't come to an agreement. And I mean, so much shit has happened back and forth between them, and I just don't know why Dana waited until now to throw this out there that he put his hands on him. Like, I don't know, maybe he just got tired of seeing Francis win so much post his UFC career. So I don't know. I'm sure we've got plenty more coming our way. So that's about all I've got for this one and what happened here recently. So, guys, please give this a like and sub if you haven't already. If you made it this far, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.